And please, your microphone, and we'll be able to hear you. Oh, yeah, I think Wendy, your microphone is on mute.
Sorry.
No worries.
Councilmember Fan? Councilmember Dominguez?
Present.
Councilmember Chua?
Oh, there she is right there.
Councilmember Chua?
Right, 1 second, I see her connecting.
Here.
Speaking of, just in time.
Vice Mayor Montano?
Here.
Mayor Tran?
I am here. Thank you so much, Wendy. Next up on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand as you may. Oh, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Next on the agenda, it does show presentations, but I do not believe we have any today, correct? I just want to make sure. Do our due diligence.
Yes, that's correct, Mayor Tran.
Okay, great. Just wanted to check. All right, next up is the public forum. We have attendees here, and we'll keep a public forum to 1 minute, 1 minute this Friday afternoon. And I'll look for any virtual raised hands. I know we have a lot of guests here from our nonprofit partners. Thanks for being here today, folks. Really, it is a pleasure to get updates on how the work's being done out there, so I appreciate it. Okay, going once, going twice. I don't see any further public forum, so I'll go ahead and close that. Moving on to announcements. I'll check in with our city manager, Steve.
Mr. Mayor, I have no announcements for this special meeting. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Looking for any further requests from my colleagues for announcements this afternoon. I don't see any virtual, possibly.
I have one, Mayor.
Here in the... Okay, yes, we have the Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'd really look forward to next week's cleanup. And I'm hoping that in the future, we can have a cleanup for Main Street. So there's some areas that do need some cleanup down there. So
absolutely, I concur with you. Looking forward to the cleanup happening next Saturday. Thank you very much, Councilmember Chua, for your efforts there. And I will look to you to continue to beautify Milpitas. Next up here, Councilmember Chua.
Thank you, Mayor Tran. I actually earlier this afternoon, I picked up my bags, the special bag for the cleanup, and also the tool that picks up the garbage, debris. And they were all excited there over at Public Works when I picked it up at 1265 North Milpitas Boulevard, because they're getting a lot of response from our city, from our residents. So I kind of mentioned to the team that hopefully in the next couple of months, we'll do a cleanup for Main Street, and then also maybe Dempsey Street and anything else that would come up. Maybe in July and then in September, every other month. That would be awesome. Thank you, Steve, for the quick response as always, and also a special shout out to Director Richard Santos for the fast feedback when I called them. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and looking forward to having us all get out there and getting to work. Let's get to work, absolutely. All right, no further announcements. I'll look to the city attorney for the announcement of conflict of interests. Chris?
Thank you, Mayor Tran. At this time, I'd ask the council and mayor to disclose any financial or personal conflict of interest related to any of the items on the agenda today. For guidance for the city council, because these are all funding arrangements with various nonprofits, various 501c6s, Government Code Section 1090 will control here because we will ultimately have an agreement that will fund each organization. Because of that, if you have any board membership, whereas you are an actual member of the entire kind of organization, you are fine to sit, but we would just want to note it for the record that you're a general member of that group. If you actually sit on the board of directors of any of these organizations, which would be a much higher level position than a general member, then you would have a conflict of interest under Government Code Section 1090. And so we would ask that you recuse yourself from that discussion on that organization only. And staff is prepared to help with that process. But I'll go down the line and just ask the question. If you are a member, just note it for the record. If you are an actual board member, then note that for the record and that you will recuse yourself when we get to the discussion on that organization. So starting at the end with Councilmember Fan.
None.
Thank you. Councilmember Dominguez.
None.
Thank you. Councilmember Chua.
None.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Montano.
None.
Thank you. And Mayor Tran.
None.
Let the record reflect none. And then because these organizations are all nonprofits, they do not have the right to give campaign contributions. Some of the chamber organizations could, but I will just generally note if there's anybody on the council who has a disclosure on a campaign contribution related to any of the organizations, you can note that now, but it's likely you do not. So I'll just leave it at that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Chris. And if you could keep us going for one more item.
Happy to do so. So I'm going to go ahead and read the council code of conduct. Be respectful and courteous. Words, tone, and body language matter. Model civility. Avoid surprises. Praise publicly and criticize privately. Focus on the issue, not the person. Refrain from using electronic devices while on the council dais. And again, as I indicated, that includes the council Zoom that we're on today for the council meeting. Disclose conflicts of interest and affiliations related to agenda items. Separate governing from campaigning. The council speaks with one voice after making policy on issues. Respect the line between policy and administration. And then finally, the council will hold one another accountable to comply with this code of conduct. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. Moving on to the approval of agenda. If there are no objections, I'll move to approve the agenda. Hearing no objections, the agenda is approved. Moving on to agenda item number 1. Let's conduct a public hearing to discuss allocation amounts for fiscal year 21-22 Community Development Block Grant funding and to approve an amendment to the fiscal year 2021 annual action plan. And we want to welcome our team from the Building Safety and Housing Department. I'll start with our director, Sharon Goey.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council members. Sharon Goey, Director of Building Safety and Housing. And I would like to introduce our CDBG team, Robert Muslim, Housing Authority Administrator, and Sarah Court, Housing Planner. They have been working diligently and doing a great job with CDBG. And today, Robert is going to present, and Sarah is going to help answer any questions. So we can pull up the slide, and I'll turn this over to Robert.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council members, and City of Milpitas residents. And we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, some quick background. Community Development Block Grant funds are administered by HUD, and this funding is allocated to each city for the primary benefit of low and moderate income households. The funding we are discussing this afternoon will be for activities to be carried out for the period between July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. Next slide, please. HUD has a few criteria to be eligible for CDBG funding. The applicant must be a 501c3 at the time of applying. They must be incorporated by the Secretary of State. They must possess a DUNS number at the time of application. And additionally, the applicant and project must meet one of the 3 national objectives as identified by HUD, and as I'll explain on the next slide. So each activity must benefit one of the following 3 national objectives: low, moderate income, slum, blight, or urgent need. Historically in Milpitas, 100% of our applicants have met the low and moderate income national objective. And primarily that's because to qualify for slum and blight funding, the designated area in which the activity occurs must meet the definition of a slum, blighted, deteriorated, or deteriorating area under state or local law, which at this time, no area in Milpitas qualifies for. And finally, for urgent need, this national objective is reserved for funding in response to natural disasters. And for reference, HUD did not classify funding for COVID-19 as applicable to the urgent need national objective. So as is expected, all applicants this fiscal year will be pursuing funding for low and moderate income clientele for this national objective. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, each activity must meet a few criteria in order to be considered eligible. As discussed, they must meet a national objective. At least 70% of the expenditure must benefit low and moderate income residents, and the cost must be necessary and reasonable. If applying for CV funding, the activity must prevent, prepare for, and respond to the coronavirus. Next slide, please. So this slide is intended to give the council an overview of a majority of the eligible activity categories within each of the 4 main project types. And those are public services, capital services, economic development, and COVID-19 activities. I won't go over any of these in detail, but we'll just leave it up for a few more seconds for the council to kind of take a look. Next slide, please. Okay. This slide is intended to give the council an idea of activities that are ineligible for funding. And mainly, any replacement of government funding with CDBG funding is prohibited. There are a few other ineligible activities, but CDBG funding is to be used to supplement local government funding, but not replace it. So just kind of wanted to be something on the top of mind for the council to consider as it goes through the applications this afternoon. Next slides, please. Okay, this slide will discuss the applicant or subgrantee responsibilities. CDBG is a reimbursement grant. As such, they must be able to front the cost of the service delivery and wait for the reimbursement on a quarterly basis. They must satisfy the city's insurance requirements, have systems in place to collect the HUD required income, race, and ethnicity data. They must be able to report to the city throughout the year as to their progress on their activity. And finally, they must be able to attend city council meetings as necessary to discuss their program's activity with the council. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is sort of a visualization of the timeline for fiscal year 21-22. Starting in January with the CDBG Community Needs Survey through our meeting today and onto our final allocation meeting in June. I'll be going through the timeline in a little bit more detail in the coming slides. Just leave it up for a couple more seconds. And next slide, please. Okay, so the start of our timeline, on January 18th of this year, 2021, the city launched the Community Needs Survey to gauge the community's response to how the CDBG funds should be allocated. The survey was distributed to the community via social media, direct emails to our housing interest list, and through Milpitas Unified School District. The survey was available for approximately 2 months and received 87 responses. Now, the key takeaways from the survey were that public services and economic development activities were high priorities for the community. Within public service, activities for children and youth and for residents at risk of eviction were most highly prioritized. Within economic development activities, activities supporting small businesses and job creation were high priorities. Next slide, please. In late January, the city announced that the application period would be open from February 8th through March 21st, 2021. Through the work of the council during the last fiscal year, staff designed a simplified application to streamline and increase the efficiency of the process. Additionally, staff utilized email interest lists, our own community advisory commission meetings, and commissioner outreach, as well as advertising in nonprofit newsletters such as Silicon Valley Council of Nonprofits. In total, 27 simplified applications with requests totaling over $1.8 million were received during the application period. Next slide, please. At the April 7 CAC meeting, the CAC heard the community survey results and heard from each of the applicants. The CAC then provided their feedback on priorities and goals the council should consider with CDBG funds. Staff then returned to the CAC on April 19th for a special meeting to review and approve of the staff's summary of the priority feedback and recommendation. And we will present the summary in the following slide. Next slide, please. So this slide is a summary of the CAC's priority feedback and recommendations. The CAC identified 4 broad categories the council should consider allocating funds to: public services, capital improvements, housing-related issues, and COVID-19 response. Under public services, providing support for individuals with developmental disabilities, residents facing eviction, senior mental health, and domestic violence services. Under housing issues, providing more services and/or housing opportunities for the unhoused. Under capital improvements, helping to improve community facilities and providing funding to low-income housing developments. And under COVID-19 response, supporting children, youth, seniors, and the unemployed with more funding. Next slide, please. On this slide, you'll see a breakdown of our available funds. So the first row shows you the amount we received in formula funding. That's $673,059. This is calculated by HUD and reflects the amount of money we roughly receive on an annual basis. These funds can be used for COVID and non-COVID activities. And to access these funds, it's required that we submit a new annual action plan. In our experience, these funds will become available to the city in late 2021. The second row shows the amount of the third of 3 tranches we received as a part of the CARES Act. These funds must be used for COVID-related activities. And to access these funds, it's required that we submit an amendment to the fiscal year 1920 annual action plan. And based on our experience, we believe these funds will be available for the city to spend in approximately 3 months from the date we submit the amended annual action plan. For the last 2 rows, we have unused funding from each fiscal year 1920 and fiscal year 2021 funding years. For these funds, we must amend the annual action plan from the year they were originally allocated from. They must be used for COVID-related activities or capital projects. And again, we anticipate having access to these funds approximately 3 months from the date we submit the amended action plan. So in total, you have about just over $1.3 million to allocate. Next slide, please. These are quick reminder slides. These are standard formula funding buckets and the respective caps. For formula funding buckets, 15% of the grant can be allocated to public services, 65% towards capital projects, and 20% towards program administration. Next slide, please. COVID activities are more flexible. If any activity is COVID related, whether it's from the CV bucket or the formula bucket, it does not count against the 15% cap. Similarly, there's no cap on economic development activities. The only portion of the CV funds that has a cap is program administration, and that cap again is 20%. Next slide, please. So staff has broken down the separate buckets of funding to best illustrate the funding amounts and various caps on each. Starting at the top, for our formula funds, we have 7 public service requests totaling $128,239. But based on the 15% public service cap, we can only allocate $100,959. As a result, some of the applicants may not receive as much funding or any funding at all. For capital projects, we have the opposite problem. We have 5 applicants requesting $323,930, but we have $437,488 in available funding. This means we have an excess of just over $113,000, and staff will give you some guidance as to what can be done with those extra funds in a later slide. Finally, in the first formula funds table, we have program administration. Now, program administration is the city's ability to pay themselves for all the work done managing the grant. However, HUD allows for the cities to pay for their fair housing work through program admin, which historically the city has done by funding Project Sentinel. So in total, including the amount requested by Project Sentinel, that amount equals $134,612 or 20% of the grant. Moving on to the bottom table for CV funds, the city received 12 public service applications totaling $1.08 million and 2 economic development applications totaling $215,000. However, we only have $482,816 to allocate to these activities from the CV fund bucket. So please note that this figure includes the $17,000 in prior year funding, but not the $30,000 in prior year fundings. We will get to a slide later explaining why the $30,000 is excluded. And similarly, the city is allowed to pay itself 20% of the administration of the CV grant, and that number is $116,447. And so it should be noted that staff is recommending funding the maximum allowable amount to the city, as these program administration funds offset any additional general funds expenditure. So the main takeaways here are that we have an excess number of funding requests for the amount of funding we have available, and some tough decisions will have to be made. Next slide, please. Ooh, let's back up one slide, please. Thank you. So the next 7 slides will go through all of our applicants, a description of the activity, the proposed number of individuals they are proposing to serve, how much they are requesting, and how much, if any, the applicant received last year. Excuse me. I will go through each applicant and briefly announce the purpose of their activity. These applications are requesting funding for Formula Public Service Funding. Catholic Charities is requesting support for their long-term care ombudsman program. Child Advocates is requesting support to assign CASA volunteers for foster children. Nextdoor Solutions to Domestic Violence offers supportive services for victims of domestic violence. Senior Adults Legal Assistance provides free legal assistance to Milpitas seniors. Silicon Valley Independent Living Center provides housing assistance services to persons with disabilities. YWCA provides supportive services to victims of domestic violence. And YWCA and MUSD are partnering to provide MUSD students intimate partner and sexual assault prevention education. And as you can see, and as you will recall from an earlier slide, for these public service applications, we have requests exceeding the maximum available allocation. Next slide, please. These applications are requesting funding for Formula Capital Improvement Funding. Life Moves is requesting support for repairs to the exterior of the Life Moves Villa Shelter. Nextdoor Solutions to Domestic Violence is requesting support to replace flooring throughout their shelter facility. Rebuilding Together provides low-income homeowners with critical home repairs, rehab, and accessibility improvements. Terrace Gardens is requesting support to rehab the existing kitchenette. India Community Center is requesting support to replace the main entry door to their building. So in contrast to the public service applications displayed on the last slide, we have a sufficient amount of funding to allocate to these activities. Next slide, please. These are the program administration applications. Again, Project Sentinel is requesting funding for fair housing work, which can be funded through program administration. Next slide, please. The next 2 slides will show the public service coronavirus activities. Life Moves will be providing meals at the 5 shelter sites that serve Milpitas residents. Lighthouse of Hope Counseling Center will provide counseling, psychological support, and education to residents of Milpitas affected by the pandemic. The Milpitas Senior Center will continue serving meals to seniors at the Senior Center. The Senior Center will also support their members with ongoing technology education and support to combat social isolation. MUSD has 3 CV applications. The first is funding for a bilingual student wellness counselor to directly respond to the needs of MUSD families and students. The second is funding for a teacher-student mentor for middle and high school students. And finally, funding for the Love for Literacy program to serve kindergarten through 3rd grade students affected by the pandemic. Next slide, please. Prognia will be supporting members of the special needs community by creating social and emotional connections and preventing further social isolation caused by the pandemic. Sourcewise will provide seniors home-delivered meals via their Meals on Wheels program. SVILC, through rent relief, will continue to provide direct emergency housing support to Milpitas residents affected by the pandemic. Terrace Gardens will continue to provide dinner meal delivery to their residents due to the closing of their dining room. Finally, the Health Trust will continue to provide seniors home-delivered meals through their Meals on Wheels program. And as discussed in a prior slide, the total combined request for public services funding totaled just over $1.08 million, and the available funding is $482,816. Next slide, please. And so these are the economic development applications. Enterprise Foundation will continue to provide micro-enterprises affected by the pandemic in Milpitas with $5,000 grants. The Filipino American Chamber of Commerce will provide hands-on training for small businesses to create or update their digital presence and devise marketing strategies to increase business. The total request here is $215,000, but again, that total available funding is still the $482,216 we've previously discussed. Next slide, please. And finally, the CV Grant Program Administration totaling 20% of the grant. And again, just to remind the council, staff is recommending the maximum allocation to the city in order to reduce our general fund expenditures. And with that, I will now turn it over to Sharon to conclude our presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert. Next slide. As we are seeing from the available allocation versus requested amounts, there are more applicant requests for funding than there is funding available. Our team has identified some potential considerations for council to assist in allocating funding to applications. The American Rescue Plan is a $1.9 trillion economic stimulus bill. From the summary of the provisions, there's a total of about $63 billion to assist the small business community. Among the city's CDBG applications, we have 2 applications that total $215,000 in their requested amount. The American Rescue Plan also provides over $122 billion for elementary and secondary school and emergency relief. Among the city's CDBG applications, there are 3 applications from Milpitas Unified School District that total over $447,000 in the requested amount. The American Rescue Plan provides an alternate source of funding for schools and businesses. This funding could be more flexible in their uses and provide a larger available amount. The council could consider allocating more CDBG funds to applicants that would not benefit from the American Rescue Plan funding. Also, as part of the American Rescue Plan funding, there's over $21 billion for emergency rental assistance. The federal government provides the funds to state and local governments that have at least a population of over 200,000. We won't know how many Milpitas families may be able to receive this assistance. However, the Milpitas Rent Relief Program has been assisting and will continue to assist Milpitas families and residents. Next slide, please. There are 4 new applicants to the City of Milpitas. Among these applicants, only 1 has received or administered a CDBG grant before. Because of HUD's stringent reporting requirements and the associated administrative burden on the applicant to meet those requirements, the city's HUD representative suggested taking an applicant's experience into account when determining how much to grant these applicants. In the current applications, all of the proposed activities are eligible activities and meet a national objective. However, in order to be eligible, an applicant must demonstrate that they have the systems in place to capture the required data by HUD in order to prove that their activity meets a national objective. Our team consulted with the city's HUD representative. It was determined that 1 applicant, the India Community Center, may be challenged in demonstrating that their activity meets a national objective. Staff just want to know that if the council approves this applicant's activity for funding and a future audit determines that the applicant did not meet a national objective, the city would then be required to reimburse the federal government. There are several applications that seem to be providing similar services. For senior meal delivery and Meals on Wheels, while staff believes there may be a slight overlap in who's receiving the funding, by allocating funding to these applicants, any overlapping services would be to combat senior food security. Historically in Milpitas, combating senior food security has been a high CDBG priority for the City Council. As mentioned earlier, to assist the small business community, we have 2 organizations applying for CDBG funding. While a small business may be able to benefit from both activities, staff believes there is no overlapping services. Next slide. Here, staff is suggesting a sequence of steps and criteria to assist in allocating funding to applications. If the council determines the amount of the formula funding to allocate, any unused portion of formula funding can be allocated to a CV applicant. Since the school district and enterprise foundation applications total almost $650,000, determining how much CV funding to allocate to these applications, if any, will help determine how much will be available for any other application. Currently, the formula fund public service applications exceed the maximum available allocation, which is the 15% public services cap. So the council may not approve all of the formula public service applications. The council could allocate any unused portion or all of the formula capital funding to any CV applicant. Right now, there are 5 capital project applications. Just to illustrate this, as an example, the council could decide not to fund any of the 5 capital projects and allocate the entire formula capital funding to CV applicants. Another example would be the council funding 3 capital projects and allocate the unused formula capital funding to CV applicants. Our team has reviewed all of the activities. Domestic violence related applications could be considered CV activities. Council could look at domestic violence related applications this way in order to approve more formula public service applications and keep them under the 15% cap. Next slide. For last year's allocation, the Milpitas Food Pantry declined to receive their $30,000 funding. The City Council has the authority to reallocate the $30,000 as part of the 21-22 allocation or consider existing applicants. Reallocating the funds to an existing applicant will allow staff to reallocate the funds more rapidly. Therefore, staff is proposing for council to reallocate $30,000 to the senior center to fund additional meals for the senior nutrition program. Next slide. So here are staff recommendations. Open the public hearing, hear testimony, then move to close the public hearing. Provide directions to staff on the allocation amounts for each application. Direct staff to return to City Council with the draft 21-22 annual action plan with the recommended allocation amounts provided. Direct staff to return to City Council with an amendment to the 19-20 annual action plan with recommended allocation amounts provided. And last, approve the amendment to the 2021 annual action plan. This concludes the staff presentation. And I also want to let the council know that there is a representative for each of the 27 applications in attendance of the meeting today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Thank you so much for the presentation, and Robert as well. You know, I think CDBG, our annual funding for our community partners, is one of the best parts about this job. And our 24+ nonprofits and community members that are here today, I want to welcome you back. Some of you have been with us for a number of years. And doesn't it feel good not to be here on a Tuesday night at 10:30, 11 p.m.? I know some of you if you hear what I'm saying. Just really great to be here this afternoon. And we do want to keep it efficient as well. I do want to give our guests an opportunity to speak. I know you all have prepared your remarks to advocate for your organization. And so we're here to listen. And I'll go ahead. If there are no objections, I'll move to open the public hearing. I hear no objections. The public hearing is now open. Let's go straight to our nonprofit partners. Let me get the list here on my Zoom. Thank you. And, all right, folks, you're here with us. Just put your virtual raised hand up if you can. If whatever reason you are unable to, then I will make sure your voice is heard just as equally. So with that being said, I want to limit the discussion to 2 minutes per person for our folks here joining us. And we want to hear all about what's going on with your organization. You could say your name, introduce yourself and your organization, and then go into it. And because we have 24 organizations here, and it is Friday afternoon, I got to go see my mother this weekend. And I know everybody has to be with their family. We'll do 2 minutes per person with this discussion. With that being said, let's go ahead with the testimony. And first up, we have Teresa Johnson.
Hello, members of the council. Thank you very much for calling this special meeting to hear from us today. My name is Teresa Johnson, and I'm Director of Food and Nutrition Services at the Health Trust. You've been a longtime funder of our Meals on Wheels program, which includes socialization activities for our clients, a friendly visitor program. We provide holiday gifts and homemade blankets for our clients, as well as providing very healthy, nutritious meals. Our meals are made in San Jose. They're delivered chilled, and we serve them hot every day. Some of our clients, due to the increase in services that we provide due to COVID, are receiving frozen meals, but the clients have a choice on that. These meals are prepared by a local chef, and they do not include any additional salt and pepper, any additional salt in the meal. They're given herbs and spices to increase the flavor, and overall they're very good. A year ago, pre-pandemic, the Health Trust was serving 1,700 meals per week. 3 weeks after the pandemic and the shutdown was declared, we were serving 9,000 meals per week. By the end of June, we were serving 12,000 meals a week. We've settled out to about 7,000 meals a week right now, but we are not seeing any decrease in the need for food for many of our homebound seniors. The pandemic is going on longer, and seniors have a lot of concerns about being out in the community. Your funding will help us leverage other funds that we need to get to support all the services that we provide throughout Santa Clara County. So the City Council's support of this small amount of funding will help us serve your community residents.
Thank you so much, Teresa. And our council is taking notes. And if there's any point of inquiry following all the testimony, we will bring up any point of inquiry as needed. Next up, we have Elena Purcell. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor Tran, Vice Mayor, and council members. My name is Elena Purcell. I am the Associate Director of Development at Rebuilding Together Silicon Valley, and I thank you so much for giving us time to speak today. Thank you for the opportunity, of course, to also apply for funding. And I would like to thank you as well on behalf of the longtime Milpitas residents and homeowners who have invested in this community and would like to remain in their home in the midst of their support systems where they can age in place. One of the goals of Rebuilding Together is to make it possible for these residents to not only safely age in place, but to thrive in place as they remain independent without the stress and burden of costly safety modifications and overdue repairs. 52% of our clients say it's easier for them to enter and exit the home as a result of our work. 1 in 3 of our homeowners say they now plan to age in place, and 90% felt less stress about repairs and maintenance 6 months after receiving our services. This year, with the additional stresses that none of us could have imagined, along with the importance of having a safe home in which to shelter, our work has become more important than ever. And this year, we had limited Milpitas funding for home repair, and we're only able to assist 4 families. We do hope you will consider funding our request in the amount of $173,970 in full, which will restore our ability to assist Milpitas residents at pre-COVID levels. Rebuilding Together Silicon Valley prevents homelessness, easing the financial burden, making it now possible for these older adult residents to remain housed in the home they've known for so long. Rebuilding Together Silicon Valley preserves affordable housing by taking care of the major repairs so these longtime Milpitas residents can remain in the midst of their trusted support systems. Again, thank you on behalf of Rebuilding Together and on behalf of the 300 Milpitas residents we've already assisted and those who are still waiting. Thank you again so much.
Welcome and thank you. Next up, we have Georgia.
Good afternoon. Georgia Basile, Directing Attorney of Senior Adults Legal Assistance, SALA. As many of you know, we provide free legal services to Milpitas residents 62 or older, targeting clients that are low income or at risk of abuse or loss of independence. Last year, 88% of the Milpitas seniors we served were very low income and 50% were 75 or older. Our current grant supports our services to Milpitas and we thank you very much. We're applying for funding again. During times covered by COVID health orders, we will continue to provide our legal services remotely and primarily by telephone. When in-person services can be reinstated at senior centers, it is our hope our appointments will be available again at Barbara Lee Senior Center. Legal assistance continues to be a need for seniors even during the pandemic. We at SALA continue to see clients with legal problems related to their public benefits that they rely on to age in place and meet basic needs and food security, such as Social Security and SSI. Agencies administering these benefits are closed right now, so our clients need our assistance with virtual hearings because many of them do not have internet access. We also see clients worried about eviction, even during COVID moratoriums. We're seeing clients that are victims of elder abuse. Many of these cases involve people that are living in the homes of our clients and that are abusing them. And when warranted, our attorneys provide full legal representation in court proceedings for elder abuse restraining orders. We can't charge fees for our services or accept fee-generating cases. The primary way we support our services is through your funding, and we've been funded for many years by you, and we thank you very much. We hope that we will again receive funding so that we can continue to provide services to Milpitas seniors and primarily at the Milpitas Senior Center when they're able to reopen. Thank you again.
You're welcome and thank you. Next up, Urvish Kumar Mehta.
Thank you very much. I wanted to mention about the CDBG grant program that has been provided by the city of Milpitas. Other than the CDBG grant, there is also a housing repair and rehabilitation program grant that has to make available as a part of a capital housing projects through the CDBG to the city of Milpitas. Also, the Santa Clara County Measure A that has been introduced by the County of Santa Clara in order to provide the cities with the NOFA and RFP in conjunction with the Measure A through the Affordable Housing Bond. It is important to ensure that through the Measure A, the continuous development be provided through the CDBG grants on the basis of the project to provide the affordable housing to the city of Milpitas citizens. Also, as a part of a CDBG grant program, there's a citizen participation plan that is required to be introduced in order to outline the public's participation in the city's CDBG program, which allows a citizen, nonprofit organization, and interested party to claim the CDBG grants as a part of a participation through the city council meetings. It is also important to ensure that the consolidated annual performance as well as evaluation plan be provided by the city of Milpitas through the CDBG so that every CAP that is being utilized, every grant that is being utilized as a part of as a part of affordable housing, as a part of a consolidated plan through the 2021 until the 2025, they are being continuously being under the monitor and the analysis be provided to the citizen based upon the grant availability and the grant that is being utilized through the federal funds. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Linda Phillips.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me. My name is Linda Phillips from SourceWise, For over 47 years, SourceWise has been serving older adults in Santa Clara County. The SourceWise Meals on Wheels program provides vulnerable seniors ages 60 and older who have been impacted by the pandemic nutritious home delivered meals, which are frozen. Seniors receive a total of 14 frozen meals every week, and there's no cost to the senior. And since the pandemic started over a year ago, SourceWise developed the Ambassadors Program to provide wellness calls to homebound seniors to help them feel connected and to prevent social isolation. Over 1,300 homebound seniors receive home delivered meals through our Meals on Wheels program. And we match volunteers with homebound seniors who have requested the support. Currently, there's less than 24 Milpitas residents, so we know that there is the potential to grow and support seniors who are in need and to focus efforts on outreach and to provide more awareness in the community about the services that we are able to offer to our seniors. And with the grant funding, SourceWise will be able to support up to 100 unduplicated seniors who are below the area median income. And we can ensure that participants are not currently participants of other food programs such as CalFresh, Great Plates Delivered, or other nonprofit partners. So we thank you for your consideration, and we look forward to partnering with you to help more seniors in need. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, and thank you. Next up, we have Keyshawn.
Hi, good afternoon, Mayor Tran and the Vice Mayor and also the Council. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk and present our case to you guys. I am an ally with Pragnya. We work in the space where we work with individuals with special needs who are neurodiverse. And I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to apply for this grant as well. It's very timely for us because ever since COVID hit us, many of us are affected by it physically, but many of us also are seeing the mental repercussions of it coming up right now. With the special needs community, we have been working and seeing firsthand the emotional trauma it has affected our children and individuals with special needs. And we've been trying to build programs where we engage them and give them a semblance of normalcy by connecting with them and their peers and volunteers. We've been doing this for the past 1.5 years, where we're doing virtual sessions for them. And we've been seeing many parents reaching out to us and asking us for this to be expanded further. The reason we applied for the grant was to see if we can add more resources where we can support more families. And this would definitely benefit us in reaching out to more families in the Milpitas area. And we already have a big wait list of people who are wanting to get our services, but we want the resources where we can hire people and expand the operations we have in Milpitas area. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk about this. And I would request you to consider doing something for the special needs community for which I'm advocating for. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, and thank you. Next up, we have Jordan Dancer.
Before you start my time, I have 2 presentations. We have a service and a capital request. Should I do them back to back?
Yeah, because they are a separate bucket, as we saw on the slide, those shiny buckets.
Yes.
I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Okay, then I'll start with our services request.
Please.
So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jordan Dancer, Grants Manager at Nextdoor Solutions to Domestic Violence. This year, we celebrate our 50th year of providing comprehensive, survivor-defined bilingual services for victims of domestic intimate partner violence and their children. We are requesting $20,523 to provide a range of support services to 50 survivors of Milpitas. Our services are at no cost, are at will, and provided by trained and certified advocates. Throughout the pandemic, we've continued providing our services remotely via phone, text, emails, and video conferencing. Our crisis hotline and Shelter Next Door have remained operational 24/7. Violence has escalated during the pandemic, with nearly 70% of our hotline calls requesting risk assessment, safety planning, and shelter services. The Shelter Next Door provides safe shelter, case management, and other support services, and the average stay is 45 days. Community assistance advocacy services address crisis, safety, and stability needs through crisis intervention counseling, lethality risk assessment and safety planning, legal advocacy that focuses on legal rights and how the court systems work, filing restraining orders, and referrals to our internal legal counsel. Self-sufficiency case management focuses on maintaining and increasing the level of self-sufficiency with 8 life domains. And support groups, currently 12, are provided in English and Spanish, and also include specific groups for male survivors, those who identify as LGBTQ, and a group for teens. Facilitators lead discussions on a series of specific topics, and support groups provide a larger circle of support through shared experiences and to help increase resilience, knowledge of resources, increase safety strategies, and reductions in isolations. So thank you for considering our request, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. And you said you had one more for a different fund.
I do. So once more, I'm Jordan Dancer. Thank you. We're requesting $23,960 from the city to replace the flooring throughout the shelter next door. The shelter next door is open 24/7 and provides safe shelter, case management, and other support services to female victims of domestic violence and their children. Male survivors and any of their children, an overflow of clients when the shelter is at capacity, are sheltered via hoteling. During the pandemic, shelter clients are housed via hoteling until they receive a negative COVID-19 test, and then they enter the shelter. The shelter next door is housed in a building that is nearly 100 years old and is a confidential location. And over the century, the building has seen a lot of living. During the past 2 years, we've been working towards completing a number of repairs and renovations to help ensure that the shelter will continue to be there for many more years to come to assist those fleeing abuse. Some recent repairs include renovation of the kitchen, foundation work, including addressing a sinking chimney, fireplace, and hearth, and repairing the driveway for better access to the chairlift for clients using a wheelchair or walker. For this request, the flooring repair materials include underlayment, vinyl and carpeting, floor coverings, other materials and sundries, and labor including moving and resetting toilets, sinks, furniture, and appliances, and disposable of the old flooring materials for the following areas: the kitchen and pantry, 4 bedrooms and closets, 3 bathrooms, staff office, and entryways, hallways, and storage closets. Each year, between 150 to 200 adults and children receive shelter and support services, with the average stay increasing every year. Recently, a Milpitas survivor and her 2 children stayed for 39 days. So thank you for considering our requests, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Jordan. And we're going to go to the next, and if there's any points of inquiries later, we'll check in. Next up, we have Adriana Caldera.
Hi, good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, and city staff. My name is Adriana Caldera, and I have the honor of serving as the interim CEO for YWCA Golden Gate Silicon Valley. We have 2 proposals in front of you for consideration. The first is for domestic violence support services. So the YWCA provides a 24-hour support line for survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking. For our domestic violence services, we also provide counseling, support groups, therapy for adults and children, emergency shelter and motel, emergency response calls from law enforcement, as well as medical advocacy, transportation, criminal justice, advocacy, and court accompaniment services. All of our core services are provided in English and Spanish. Now, we are incredibly proud of the work we have done in the Milpitas community for over 15 years. We've had a partnership directly with the Milpitas Police Department, and our advocates receive redacted police reports directly from law enforcement and are able to follow up and provide additional support services, crisis support, and connection to long-term housing options. The second proposal in front of you is for our Building Healthy Relationships, which is in partnership with the Milpitas Unified School District. In this program, we are aiming to provide 500 students in middle school and high school with 75 teen empowerment presentations. Topics include how to prevent teen dating violence and sexual assault, setting boundaries, how to ask for consent, how to foster peer support and safe bystander practices, how to identify and access safe adults, and how to communicate feelings of being unsafe and needing immediate support and understanding. In addition, with that curriculum, we offer 100 students a cyber safety program that links directly to healthy teen dating violence relationships.
And as of this year, for the same program, we have already reached 698 students served in this fiscal year. So we are incredibly proud of this work and look forward to continuing this work in the Milpitas community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And next up, we have Heather Griffin.
Good afternoon, Council, and thank you. My name is Heather Griffin with Life Moves. A little about Life Moves. We are the largest provider of shelter and supportive services in San Mateo and Santa Clara County. Our mission is to provide interim housing and supportive services for homeless families and individuals to rapidly return to stable housing and achieve long-term self-sufficiency. We operate 24 facilities and service sites across these two counties. On any given night, we house more than 1,200 individuals, about 1/3 of whom are minor children. And last year, we provided more than 230,000 nights of shelter and returned more than 2,000 homeless individuals to stable housing. To review, we did apply for 2 different projects. And so the first proposal is $100,000 for capital improvements at our Villa facility, which is a single women and family facility in downtown San Jose, serving Milpitas residents, and $40,000 in food costs to serve all 5 shelters located in Santa Clara County, which serve Milpitas residents. In this last fiscal year, Life Moves served 73 residents of Milpitas in our Santa Clara County shelters and program sites. 64 clients were served in our shelters, including families with minor children at our Georges Travis and Villa shelters. 9 other Milpitas residents were served in our safe parking program, and our motel voucher program, and our Gateway Fairground shelter in response to COVID. Milpitas residents stayed a total of 4,168 nights in our shelters and other program sites. In addition to serving Milpitas residents in our shelter and program sites, we also served 84 Milpitas residents through the Emergency Assistance Network, delivering more than $96,000 in financial support to individuals and families to prevent homelessness, including funds for rental assistance, security deposits, and critical utility payments. And we appreciate your ongoing support of our programs.
Thank you so much, Heather. Thank you. Next up, going down the line here, folks, with the virtual raised hands, it certainly is different not being in person and being able to see everybody at once. But next up here, we have Renee Lorenzen.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council. This is Renee Lorenzen, Director of Recreation and Community Services. We are returning this year with 2 proposals. The Barbara Lee Senior Center has provided warm meals to Milpitas seniors during the pandemic, 5 days a week. And next week, we will surpass 30,000 meals served at the center and to Terraced Gardens senior residents. As the community and industries begin to open up, we look forward to continuing to serve close to 150 new nutrition members daily on top of our pre-pandemic members. Also, with the launch of a successful senior digital literacy program this year, we are seeking support to further educate and train our seniors so they can remain connected to their friends and families, but also have the tools and the confidence to access the many resources and support services that have focused advertising and information online. So thank you for the city for providing these valuable funds to all of today's service organizations and programs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Renee. And next up, we have Michelle Leperini.
Good afternoon, members of the council. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Michelle Leperini. I'm the Director of Development at Child Advocates of Silicon Valley. The mission of Child Advocates is to be there for every foster child in Silicon Valley who has experienced abuse, neglect, and/or abandonment. I want to thank the council and the city for your support of foster youth over the years. This year, we're requesting $12,500 to recruit new CASA volunteers to serve 7 Milpitas foster youth. Your support allows us to serve children in Milpitas from birth to 21 years of age who have been placed in the dependency court system after having experienced abuse, neglect, and/or abandonment. We serve these youth by providing them with a court-appointed special advocate, or as we call them, a CASA. This CASA stands by their side and serves the youth in the following ways. They act as a mentor to the child. CASA spends time with their youth and get to know them, build trust in a relationship with the child, and model positive adult relationships. They advocate for the youth in the system, ensuring their educational, medical, and social needs are met. And they also lift up the voice of the child in the court system. So CASAs provide the judge with a well-rounded picture of the child and advocate for the best interest of the child in their dependency hearings. Oftentimes, a CASA is the one consistent person in a child's life who has been there with them through placement changes, new schools, and more. They know better than most what supports a foster youth needs. During the pandemic, the CASAs advocated for their youth through a variety of additional ways, including ensuring that their youth had the essential needs met, including diapers, formula, food, housing stipends, et cetera, connecting them with resources if those needs weren't met. They also made sure that remote education needs were met, including laptops, headphones, and a variety of other materials to ensure their academic success. And then addressing additional newly created social and emotional needs that might have come up as a result of the pandemic. On behalf of our staff, over 500 CASA volunteers, and the over 1,100 foster youth in Silicon Valley that we serve, we thank you for your continued support.
You're welcome and thank you. Next up, we have Gloria Baxter.
Hello, my name is, can you hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Okay, my name is Gloria Baxter, and I am from the Lighthouse of Hope Counseling Center. I'm the executive director, and thank you so much for this time and opportunity to speak to you about our agency and the services that we provide to the community. We have been in operations as a nonprofit since 2010, and we serve the whole of Santa Clara County. And to date, because of the COVID-19 and the increase in clients we are seeing for psychological support, education, etc. And we are applying for $5,000 because we have seen an increase in Milpitas residents from about maybe 10 or 15 annually. Since March of last year, that number has increased significantly up to approximately 45 people. And people are grieving the loss of loved ones. There is unrest in the community. There's panic and conflict. And one of the policies of our agency is that everyone who needs counseling should be able to get counseling. So we provide low-cost counseling for those in the community who need it. And we're asking for the $5,000 to offset and support the additional members of the community in Milpitas who need counseling assistance and cannot afford it. We have insurance payments for most people, but there are a number of people who do not have the funds to pay for their counseling.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Next up, we have Wanda Hale. And we want to welcome you. And if you got your microphone, possibly unmute it. And we are happy you are here. Give you a moment as you need it here, Wanda. I think your microphone might be, or our IT department here at the city can maybe assist. We want to make sure we are together. We are here. I hope you can hear my voice. I'm sure you can. Not sure. Sometimes on the other end of the Zoom, it takes a moment or so. But Wanda, I want to keep you right there. If you're there, let us know. If you're having technical difficulties, just you can put it in the chat, and our IT department will help. But if you need to come back, we are going to be here. And we'll give you a call. I hope you get your discussion across. But in the meantime, next up here, we'll have Cheryl Jordan.
Good afternoon. Thank you, council members, for this opportunity to speak to the 3 applications that Milpitas Unified has submitted for CDBG. First, I would like to thank you for taking time to look at our application for student wellness support. I would like to let you know that we are withdrawing that application because we are going to look at a pathway of adding additional social workers through internships. And so we are withdrawing that one. I would like to speak to our other two. One is our Love for Literacy. Our Love for Literacy is a program that provides literacy for the whole family. It targets our transitional kindergarten students through 3rd grade. It provides them with bridge support through the summer, as well as weekend and evening opportunities for expanding whole family literacy. We are targeting our Title I schools, and specifically those in the triangle between Rose, Randall, and Burnett, because that has been identified as the area with the highest concentration of families who have low socioeconomic means. And the second program that we are advocating for is our mentoring program. It's a teacher-student mentoring program, and this year, through COVID, we focused on our English learners and those in particular who were not making it in school, and we had 55 of them. And the data, as you'll see, demonstrates that they were able to reconnect with school and that mentorship made a great deal of difference. And additionally, we have another mentorship program that is called the Escuela Village. And so these all tie together, and appreciate your consideration.
You're welcome, and thank you very much, Superintendent Jordan. Next up, we have Rebecca Marr.
Hello, I'm going to be presenting 2 project applications. So if you don't mind, I'll just go into both of them.
Please.
Okay. So yeah, I'm the regional manager for Terrace Gardens. We have 2 projects. The first one is COVID related for takeout containers and PPE supplies. Terrace Gardens is entering the 31st year in service, where we provide low-income housing to 148 units, which is about 184 Milpitas residents who are 62 or over. As part of the program, we provide meals in our dining room 5 days a week for all of our residents. But due to the pandemic, we were forced to close our dining room and switch over to a delivery system for all of the residents. The added expense of the takeout boxes for food deliveries is about $3,500 per month. This is an additional cost that we cannot pass down to the residents, as 100% are low-income seniors. A small portion of the funds would be allocated for PPE supplies for the property due to an increased cleaning and sanitizing schedule for the safety of the residents. We are requesting $65,000 for materials only for this project. The second project is for capital improvement, and that's for the the community room kitchenette rehab. And that is to replace the kitchenette, which was originally installed in 1985. Our community room is an essential location for our staff to host informative, fun, and teaching opportunities for the low-income senior residents, as well as to offer the room to our residents and community partners for hosting events. We are requesting funds to rehab the existing kitchenette so that we can continue to offer these opportunities to our senior residents in an energy efficient and aesthetically pleasing environment. The project is $11,000 for materials only.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you. Next up, we have Joy Kim.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Oh, wonderful. Good afternoon, Mayor Tran and members of the City Council. My name is Joy Kim, and I'm the librarian at Milpitas High, and try my best to serve all of MUSD as the only librarian in the district. I'm here to support Love for Literacy and speak on behalf of our low-income immigrant families who have been impacted most by learning loss this year due to the pandemic. When I say learning loss, I don't mean they aren't learning new things. What I'm referring to here are matters of equity, where many of our disadvantaged children don't have the same social and economic capital to address the aftermath of the pandemic. These parents don't have the same means to send their child to private advanced summer programs or expensive tutoring centers because they just have a whole different set of struggles not all families truly understand. I grew up with immigrant parents from Korea who came to this country with so much hope, but also a lot of fears. And they never imagined they had the power to voice their child's needs, let alone their own needs. Due to language, class, and cultural barriers, it was especially hard for my parents to feel empowered in schools where they were barely trying to put food on the table. As a teacher and librarian, I am passionate about literacy, and there are so many levels of knowing literacy, and so many parents want to help, but don't feel equipped to know how. And Love for Literacy is one step towards uncovering unknown literacies for our most vulnerable population of students. We have several community partners we've worked with in the past, such as Milpitas Public Library, who have hosted special digital literacy programming events, orientations, including visits with this bookmobile to the school sites that do not have libraries. If children don't have access to libraries near them or parents can't take them as often, we will bring the library to them. What I find most compelling about Love for Literacy is its focus on empowering working class parents to contribute in many ways, even if they don't feel like they have the luxury of time. I believe Love for Literacy breaks down barriers, builds a stronger community, and addresses equity issues directly by providing more access to reading literacy, digital literacy, culturally relevant literacy, and most importantly, the literacy of families. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next up, we have Wanda Hale. Welcome. Glad to see you here. I want to make sure we hear your voice. And we'll just wait for the unmute. And we will wait for you because we want to hear from you. And we're happy you're here.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council members. My name is Wanda Hale. I'm the program manager for the long-term care ombudsman program at Catholic Charities of Santa Clara County. First, I'd like to thank you for your past and hopefully future support of the program. We're the advocates for the most vulnerable citizens of your city, those who live in nursing homes and assisted living. We advocate for the dignity, rights, and needs of seniors and disabled. And I think after this year of the pandemic, a lot of people know a little more about some of the issues in nursing homes. Nursing homes were on TV quite often with major COVID outbreaks and deaths happening. So our main function is to investigate and resolve complaints by residents in these facilities. So as you can imagine, during this time, we have been very, very busy. First, we were contacting residents and facilities via phone because going out in person was very difficult. By February, we were all vaccinated and have PPE and now are going out into the facilities. There's a lot of issues that just were not taken care of, very poor care practices and infection control. So we've been very much a part of helping residents get vaccinated and also helping the facilities understand many of the new regulations. A lot happening out there, and we are certainly a part of helping. Thank you.
Thank you, Wanda. We appreciate you and your organization. Next up, we have Dennis King.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, distinguished members of the City Council. It's nice to see you during the daytime.
Yes, yes.
So I'm the director of the Enterprise Foundation, which is the host of the Small Business Development Center serving the small businesses of Santa Clara County. Our local funding partner is the County of Santa Clara. With me today is my right hand, Ali Lopez. She's our program director of the Silicon Valley SBDC program. We provide a wide variety of free technical assistance to small businesses. And when we do so, we do that in English, Spanish, Vietnamese, Mandarin, and Tagalog. We really, our people and our business advisors reflect the diversity and the passion of the small business communities, certainly here in Milpitas and throughout the county. I'd love to think that we see light at the end of the tunnel. Unfortunately, for many, many of your small businesses, they're still in the tunnel. They are still struggling for life. We had the honor of working with you and your great staff and providing the grant program that we followed up with technical assistance. We'd like to be able to do the same thing, or whatever you think is appropriate to be able to help save and serve your small businesses. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The public hearing is open, folks. If you're joining us this afternoon and you're representing an organization and you haven't had the opportunity to be a part of the discussion with the time allocated, I want to welcome you, and I ask you kindly that you raise your virtual raised hand. I want everybody here this afternoon to get an opportunity at the 2 minutes for their request, however it may be. So each person goes once. Each person goes once. Next up, we have Anna Navarro.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and all other City Council. This is great to be in this forum. And I am Ana Lisa Navarro. I am the Vice President of the Filipino American Chamber of Commerce. And this is our first time applying for the CDBG.
CDBG. You know, you'll get used to it.
I know, it's hard to roll off my tongue. And so I appreciate the time to be able to share with you our goals and introduce, of course, our organization. So the Filipino American Chamber of Commerce was established back in 1982. So it's almost 40 years in service, assisting and promoting businesses in Santa Clara County and the extended Silicon Valley. We are a nonprofit, nonpartisan, and non-sectarian organization. So we welcome and serve everyone. For this program, our goal is actually to assist about 15 small businesses in Milpitas so that the business owners can, one, rebound using technology tools from the impact of the pandemic so that they could continue running their businesses, creating jobs or retaining jobs so that that is not negative economic impact to their households as well as the city of Milpitas. So we aim to do that by providing them website and e-commerce sites because that's the new way of conducting business. And we would like to do this by mentoring one-on-one and also doing webinars to reach a broader population. Thank you for your time.
I appreciate the Filipino Chamber of Commerce. Salamat po. All right, if there's any other folks that have not had the opportunity for their participation in the discussion. Okay, great. I see some virtual raise hands going up. If you haven't spoken, welcome. And please, folks, if you're here and you'd like to speak, please raise your virtual hand. Next up, we have Ann Marcourt.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, as I hope you are all aware, Project Sentinel has, well, it's one proposal, but two distinct services within the one proposal, and it's for tenant landlord counseling, dispute resolution, and fair housing services. Under our tenant landlord services, we counsel tenants on their, let's say, day-to-day problems of repairs, deposits, lease terminology. Fair housing services are for civil rights enforcement. It's anti-housing discrimination. The fair housing services also help the city of Milpitas comply with the HUD mandate of affirmatively furthering fair housing. These days, we are still helping people, well, I'm gonna say with the routine tenant landlord problems, but we have obviously a very significant added challenge of connecting people to rent relief. But we are working with the state program, counseling tenants and landlords on how to receive that relief. Our caseload is significantly higher because of it, but we will make it through with, you know, serving everybody as well, as long as the city of Milpitas is able to continue to provide the financial support you've provided us for so many years. So we thank you for that support. And one last thing, I just wanted to say, wanted to do a shout out for the program that was before you earlier tonight or this afternoon, Pragnia. I have a friend with an adult son with this with a disability, and they've used those services and it's been fantastic for the household. So I just want to give a little shout out for that with my time. Anyway, thank you very much, and I'll be available for questions.
You're welcome, and thank you so much. Absolutely. Next up, we have Peter. And we will welcome you and look for your microphone to be unmuted. Welcome. We appreciate you being here. Yes.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, welcome, welcome.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Mayor Tran and council members, for giving us the opportunity to present. Well, one of the things that I do want to speak about, especially as a parent of an individual with developmental disabilities, and I want to thank the previous speaker for recognizing what we are making, what kind of difference we're making with individuals who are developmentally different in our Milpitas community. One of the biggest issues is that they're often forgotten and secluded or isolated. Integrating them into society is not a priority a lot of times because it's not top of mind for many of us, because many of them are nonverbal or probably not able to advocate for themselves. So unless there are fierce advocates, like parent advocates or families who are already caught up in so many different things that are going on, the priority is never to integrate them into mainstream society. So Pragnia, as our very name suggests, Pragnia actually means awakening. We fill this gap where they possibly fall through the cracks. We actually train neurotypical individuals, children and adults, to be allies of those who are neurodiverse. And we bring together the developmentally different population as well as the allies in several different settings. About 6 times a week, we meet at different occasions. And we make sure that everybody belongs, and we foster that sense of community, that sense of belonging, and that sense of togetherness. So it is an integrated society. And especially during the COVID pandemic, students in special education have been struggling with distance learning, sensory issues, and so many other things. So Pragnia has been doing tutoring sessions in person, one-to-one for these students throughout the pandemic. So we really would like the opportunity to be able to support them and to support more people through the support that we get from this grant. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you and your organization. Next up, we have Raquel Kazunoki.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Council. My name is Raquel Kazunoki, Director of Learning and Development from Milpitas Unified School District. And I'm here on behalf of the Love for Literacy and the Teacher Mentorship Program grant that we've written. This year, our students from low-income families were hardest hit as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Pre-COVID, these are the same groups of students who data shows tend to lag behind their peers academically. Some of our high school students have had to take on jobs to support their families, or had to care for younger siblings so that the parents can work, again, affecting their ability to focus on their learning. What I'm asking from you is your support and partnership and allowing us to provide the much needed adult mentoring that they need, because when we open in the fall, they're going to need somebody to guide them through their academics. They're in adolescence. There's a lot going on inside. But the one thing that we forget sometimes to look at is what's going on internally. We want them to have somebody who can guide them in their education, help them grow, help them get motivated, give them hope so that they can get their degree and graduate from high school. And as far as our Love for Literacy little kiddos, we need to bring joy back to learning. These kids have been in isolation for way too long. We need to bring back the happiness and the joy for these kids. And I hope that you consider, I want to thank you for considering our application and considering our children here in Milpitas. Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you.
Okay, I really appreciate everybody here this afternoon and just hearing all the wonderful updates from current partners as well as future aspiring partners. If anybody else would like to make a comment, if they have not spoken, I will look around to our attendees to ensure that we have a full public hearing. So I'm looking once, I'm looking twice, I'm looking 3 times. I don't see any further requests for a public comment. So I'll go ahead, if there's no objections, move to close the public hearing. Hearing no objections, the public hearing is now closed. We'll bring it back up here to the virtual dais. Hey, everybody, good to see you. I do want to once again congratulate all the CDBG recipients as we move forward today. I do want to make it quite simple as to how we're going to put all the puzzle pieces together. And so I'll go ahead and kick this off. I want to talk about the ICC. I know we have Raj here from the ICC. I think I've seen him in the list here. Raj, are you there? If you can, okay, I no longer see his name. Yeah, oh, there he is. He's at the top. Hey, Raj. Oh, hey, how you doing, Raj? And so we have Raj, CEO of the Indian Community Center here in Milpitas, which we all love. I can't tell you how many great moments I've had there and will have there. I think part of staff's report was we are not 100% about the funding meeting the federal guidelines. And if we were to grant the funding, there is a possibility that the federal government may say to the city, the funding did not meet the requirements or requisites, and then our city would be liable through our general fund for that amount. Let me check in with my favorite city manager. Steve, is that right? And your mic. Okay, yes, great. You are correct. And so I do want to, Raj, and you are the leader there at the ICC. In the event that the funds aren't backed by the federal government, and I know this number is less than 200,000, if my mind serves me well, right? In the event, Raj, our city is liable for the amount, and we have a pretty strict policy here of not tapping into our general fund for sort of these cases. But I do want to go forward with supporting the opportunity for the CDBG funds, because I do have faith that it'll be supported. I want to have faith. It's here today because we have faith that it'll be funded by the CDBG. But in the event, Raj, is there any way you could provide us some insurance here across the street?
Sure. As you know, ICC owns the building. And, I'm here to defend our case in that our seniors is who we are trying to help. It's a very significant program. The Santa Clara County supports it. And, the current doors are so heavy, many cannot even, open the doors. So we are looking to replace them. We are here, if at all, for any reason, there is a rejection post granting this support from this committee. ICC will stand behind this and ensure that we reimburse the amount.
All right, thank you, Raj. That's it right there. I like that a whole lot, and I know you can work with our city manager and city attorney to ensure we have that documented. And I think that's a win-win for all of us, absolutely. And so we heard it from Raj. Thank you very much, Raj, and we're gonna go down the CDBG path together this afternoon. I hope the council will also agree. Okay, so my next item, I think I want to continue to support our current nonprofit service providers. I would hate to, and I know that's what I have a pretty strong feeling that's what we're doing today. In any way, I'd hate to break any type of service that we're already providing over a number of years. And so I just want to put that out there that all the folks CDBG organizations that have been receiving funds in the past. I'm in support today of keeping it going. Especially, some of them really hit my heart. I think domestic violence organizations, I think I said this in years past, I come from a broken family and my parents split when I was 7. And, there's a Milpitas Police Department file somewhere with my parents with domestic violence. That's how, and the pain of not just domestic violence on the surface, but, all the children involved and just the heartbreaking pain. So I'm so proud to keep the support going. And that one hits me personally. I always like to throw that out there to show how personal CDBG funds are. I want to welcome the new applicants. Next thing here, I want to welcome the new applicants to applying. I think that's a great thing. And I want to support them as well. However, in the case that we do not have enough funds through the CDBG process, I know that I think it's next week, we're looking at the American Rescue Plan, and there's some monies within the $16.8 million or so that have to go to some nonprofits. Just a slice of it. We'll talk about it at the next meeting, but a very slice of it. And I hope that those ARP funds can pick up which organization may fall under those guidelines. And I know our staff's going to figure that out because they are the experts. But, part of the American Rescue Plan is to support some nonprofits. And we're not, it's going to be, I'm sure we're going to do a little small slice of the American Rescue pie here in Milpitas. I want to go to my colleagues here. I know I see a virtual raised hand up, but we've already taken comments. If there's a point of inquiry, then we'll go to our applicants in all due fairness with the process. So I'll look to my colleagues, if anybody would like to raise their virtual raised hand, we'll do that. Okay, in order. Councilmember Dominguez.
Thank you very much, Mayor, for the time. I definitely echo your sentiments in terms of the domestic violence, and especially with the recent events that have happened here in Milpitas. I definitely would like to continue the levels of service. And because this is one of those areas, I think that we would be able to tap into different sources of funds. I would like to consider increasing the funding for this particular service. I just had a quick follow-up question for Nextdoor if they're available. Just want to confirm, I know I was really excited when it was mentioned about LGBTQ. I'm wondering, is that LGBTQ plus that you also provide services for? I'm not too sure if they're still on the line. Let's see, I believe it's Jordan? Maybe not. Maybe they jumped off. Okay. Well, maybe if staff could just provide that information. It sounds like they do, but I just wanted to confirm. My other question, I definitely support ICC. I think they're a valuable resource in our community. However, I definitely know from my experience with the CDBG subcommittee, this is a very particular funding where we as a city could get flagged. Would there be any chance, Mayor, for us to maybe direct staff to help support the ICC with the best funding that is available for them without, I think it's hard, it's easier said than done when they say they will return the funds, which I don't doubt. The problem is not local. I have a feeling, for me, I'm concerned about the federal level. I wouldn't want the city of Milpitas to get flagged because then you go through these very tedious internal audits. And I would prefer if maybe we could give some of the funding that we're going to talk about next week to the ICC from that bucket. And then that would help alleviate us making that decision here. So that would just be my kind recommendation. That way we're able to fund them. We don't have to worry about that. And then CDBG, again, is a more tedious funding that requires a lot of paperwork. And if we do get flagged as a city, and I know that because I used to be the program manager at another city. And once you get flagged, you go through these intense audits. And so we don't want to get flagged. And so that would just be my kind recommendation for consideration for it to be easier for everybody. And again, I think definitely we value ICC and I want to support you. I just want this to be the easiest process for all of us. The second question that I had, if we max staff, if we go through this list and the funnel, I echo the sentiments of the mayor. I think it's a great idea to fund those that we have already been providing services with, because I know they went through a very tedious process last time for our nonprofit providers and partners. How much money, I don't know if there's a slide, I'm sorry if I missed it. If we do the funding do an equal match of funding for our past participants, how much money is then left in the funnel?
Great question, Council Member. If we can go back to slide 18, I believe that would help visualize this a little bit more clearly. And I'll just pause until that slide is up, Council Member.
Thank you.
So if we were to fund all of the applicants that we funded last year, as evidenced by this slide, and I believe all the applicants on this slide are applicants that we did fund last year, we would still have an issue with the public service cap. Now, if there is flexibility, as we mentioned in one of our slides, to move the domestic violence activities over to CV related activities, and in that case, we could, in theory, fit all of these activities under the public services cap and move the domestic violence activities to coronavirus related, which would then exclude them from the public services cap. We do have a little flexibility on these 7 applications.
Okay, perfect. Yet my recommendation, my kind request for our council would be to move in that direction, because then it would fulfill the vision of our mayor to fulfill, which I believe is all of our intent, to help support those who are already doing services in Milpitas so we don't see a cut of services. And then if we're able to move that funding over, we would still be able to fund our past providers and then look at the excess funds that are coming in to help support the new applicants, because I think they are very valuable assets to our city. And I would love to see if those new applications would qualify under the new funding that we're receiving and that we're going to be having a short conversation about shortly. Those are my comments and kind requests. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate staff and all of our partners for the work that you guys are doing, particularly this past year. I definitely want to just say thank you very much, because I know you guys all have been working very tirelessly long to help Milpitas move forward. So thank you very much for your efforts.
Moving on, we got Councilmember Finn.
Yeah.
Mayor? Oh, gosh. Yes, Sharon, please.
Yeah, I want to let you and Councilmember Dominguez know that the representative for Nextdoor, she did raise her hand. Councilmember Dominguez had a question from her earlier, so I don't know if you want her to address.
No, I don't need to share. And let me go to the attendees list here. It's a little different this year on Zoom. I want to ask Dennis King if you can lower your virtual raised hand. And that way, if we have any questions from our city council, we'll be able to have one raised hand up and I can identify the name as the organizations aren't being shown. But Jordan, please, welcome.
Thank you. I was frantically raising and lowering my hand, but nobody would unmute me. But in response to your question, Councilmember Rodriguez, yes, the LGBTQ is also the extension IAP. So anyone that comes from any gender identity. is served by that group. And as the numbers grow, they may break into separate groups, but currently it's an inclusive group. And I believe that answers your question. Thank you.
It does. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that information. And again, thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you very much. I want to go to Mr. King, Dennis King. I'm not sure if there was a point of inquiry, so I want to ask that you lower your virtual raised hand until you are called upon. Thank you so much. That's how we're running it. Okay. Moving on here, we got Councilmember Finn.
Yeah, I'll be brief. Well, I guess, firstly, do we state our opinions right now or general questions?
Councilmember Fan, we've closed the public hearing, so you're free to, I think, deliberate and decide.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to indicate that I feel uncomfortable granting the request of the ICC just because of the risk. It's not a risk that I'm willing to take. Other than that, I do support staff recommendation for the funding requests.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Fan. I mean, speaking of risk, let me check in with our city attorney for sort of a point of information here. What type of risk are we looking at in this particular instance with the ICC as we submit the documentation? Maybe we can explain it to the public.
So, Mayor, it sounds like one of the questions is whether they are appropriate for funding under the CDBG guidelines, and I would look to Sharon just to confirm that that is the issue on the table.
Yes, in consultation with our the city's HUD representative, that applicants will need to demonstrate that they have a system in place that can capture the HUD required data in order to demonstrate that their activity meets the national objective. And from our team, research and consultation with the HUD representative, he indicated that that seemed to be very challenging because of the activity they proposed and to envision a system that would be in place to be able to track the data. That seemed to be very challenging. So that was the suggestion from the HUD representative.
Thank you, Sharon. So, Mayor, one of the things we do on the back end after these amounts are basically decided by the City Council is we do work on CDBG funding agreements. Those funding agreements have all of the requirements that would apply to an organization that gets federal funding and all the requirements that flow from that. So that would be detailed in an agreement. I would imagine if we got some indication early on before the agreement is executed that it's really not going to work and they cannot meet the requirements, then we would look to not execute that agreement. But if we did execute the agreement and they could not meet those requirements, I will look back at the agreement just to refresh my recollection, but my understanding is the requirements and the onus would be on them. And so there would be some language indicating that they need to comply, and if they are not in compliance, there are risks associated with that for them. We could also look to build language into that somehow there needs to be payment back. But what I do not know, and I'll admit this, is what are the repercussions from the CDBG and the HUD program if there is an issue down the road.
No, thank you for that information. That's why I ask, and so I always want to make the right decisions for our community and our city, which is consistent. We weren't able to resolve or address or sort of acknowledge these concerns before today. Kind of just, we weren't able to clear up the questions before today. Was it sort of late in a process deal? Is that why we're just kind of having it on the table for today? I just want to get a sense of how we ended up here this afternoon.
I could try to answer that question just from sitting in through all the meetings where this topic has come up. And my understanding is that however the operations are set and tracked and with the center, that information that staff has and is known has been communicated to CDBG or a HUD representative, who has determined that that's not enough. So whatever it is they have, or maybe they don't have those systems in place to satisfy the HUD representative. Because of that, there's been too much ambiguity for anybody to say, yes, this is clearly a qualified, I'll leave it as a qualified request.
Okay. Yeah, I think the CDBG train is leaving the station today. So we got to have a really full ticket to get on this train. And you know, with that information being given, you know, I'd look to consider the ICC application for CDBG, move it over to the ARP to see if it falls in line there to give it another chance. But, you know, I love the ICC, but I just don't want to put our city in a position where the HUD representative has already stated serious concerns. I wish the HUD representative could have relayed to us maybe if it was a green or a red light, but it appears we have a yellow light today. And I'm not looking forward to put my foot on the gas or put my foot on the brake. But maybe it looks like we're putting my foot on the brake a little bit more than hitting the gas at this yellow light. And so if there's any type of documentation I can see from HUD or email, please share that with me after this meeting, just so I can be informed. Thank you very much. Moving up next here, we got Councilmember Chua.
Thank you, Mayor Tran. Overall, this is my way of thinking on this one. It's like I support what you said, that I'm supporting old applicants because they're already proven, and they also are in line with our objectives of assisting domestic violence, like Councilmember Dominguez said, LGBTQ, against any LGBTQ violence, the youth, and even parents, the seniors, the children, and the residents at risk of eviction, as well as adding economic development goals by assisting micro enterprise and small businesses. I'm for that. In terms of the ICC, because it's questionable, I would prefer that they go maybe try applying at next week at the ARP funding. And also the way I look at it, I look at each one of these seriously for the last few weeks. And if I see there's other source of funding, then I will set that aside. Meaning, if we can accommodate them with the ARP, with the American Rescue Fund, then I will put them there. So, but it depends on that program as well. If it's in line with the perimeters of the program. So that being said, anything that has a potential other source of funding, like like the MUSD request, I would put that on that category. Even our own senior requests from our Parks and Recs and senior department, I would put that aside because I want to see if those can be accommodated under the American Rescue Plan. So that being said, if you want me to go into details, I can do that. That's my overall methodology of my decisions on these applications.
Thank you so much. Very pragmatic. I love the way you think. Thank you. Okay. And so I just want to kind of bring the discussion around. I think we're getting close to the finish here, but I know, Raj, you're here, and you know, I am committed to supporting your nonprofit organization. One of the best in Milpitas, by the way. Let's face it, we all been there. It's amazing. Just the most amazing people in the world, literally. But I'm going to commit at this moment to supporting ICC next week when we do the American Rescue Plan funds. And I think we may have a greater opportunity and probability once we get there. So Raj, I do want to share that, as well as your organization. Okay, great. So we've heard from most of the council. I want to go to the Vice Mayor, Carmen Montano, for any comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Can staff put up the recommended nonprofits that we are requesting, that you are requesting that we fund? Can you unblur it, or is it just my screen? It's kind of blurred. There you go. Okay. I agree with all of them. I do agree with Councilmember Dominguez about the domestic violence. I think we need to put more funding in that one, but I'm not sure if we have enough with reducing some other one. Will we have enough? Or maybe perhaps we can use another pot
next week
for that. Okay, but yeah, I do believe that we can. They have a proven track record, and I'd like to increase the domestic violence one. That one is very important, especially with COVID. There's been an increase of domestic violence in our city and in all other cities, so that one is very important. So thank you, Councilmember Dominguez, for that. Also, I can't see very well. my glasses. Is the Life Moves? Is that? Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, I'm good with it. Yeah, because they have a proven track record, and I do believe that that this is the way to go. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I love your due diligence. Very important. Okay, great. All right, there you have it, folks. I'm thankful to be here this afternoon amongst all the nonprofits as we look to the staff right now. Staff, is that enough direction? Go to Steve. Yeah, I think we've all stated our case. We're happy with the recommendations.
I'm just looking. Yeah, I'm also looking to Sharon if you're going to give us a nod or something before I commit for you. You give me a yes.
Yes. Yeah. So thank you for the direction tonight.
Sharon is very pleased. Thank you.
Okay, great. And I know the staff will bring this back. Great. Okay, so we have one agenda item today, and there's a whole bunch of recommendations, and one recommendation is the ICC to be really postponed to a separate agenda item, and all others are agreed upon. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve item number 1, and looking for a second.
Second.
We have a second from Councilmember Dominguez. All in favor? Virtual roll call. Councilmember Fan.
Aye.
Councilmember Dominguez.
Aye.
Councilmember Chua.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Montano.
Aye.
Myself is an aye. Item number 1 is approved. Thank you to our nonprofit partners. You're getting out of here before 5 p.m. Go ahead and leave. You hit that red button. We want to wish you a happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, grandmothers as well. All right. We love you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here to our valued guests. Thank you so much. Okay, with that being said, we're out of here too, folks. I want to wish everybody a happy weekend. Great job by our Department of Building Safety and Housing, Sharon Joy and Robert Muslim for the just incredible work over the last long period of time. We appreciate you. You made it easy for us. Thank you so much. Okay, great. All right, everybody, take care. This meeting is adjourned.
Happy Mother's Day to all of you.
Thank you.